Fact: women account for over 40% of the fan bases of the NFL, MLB, and NHL. Fact: women comprised 47.7% of viewership of Super Bowl 58. Fact: media coverage of women's sports has nearly tripled in the last 5 years. So why isn't a female voicing this?
NCAA Division I Women's Volleyball Championship. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your tickets today at NCAA.
And why can't a female voice this?
It's more than the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl in Las Vegas.
When it comes to advertising sports, movies, and brands that women spend time and money supporting, women want to see and hear women promoting them. So how can we let the higher-ups know what we really want? Well, when there's no door to kick in, we have to build one. It's time to start building doors for women to walk through. Because after all, kicking them in just ruins our shoes.
It's my honor to welcome the founder of Building Doors, which is an advocacy organization for women in voiceover and possibly more. We'll talk about that a little bit more with voice actor, activist, and speaker. It's my pleasure to welcome Christy Harst. Christy, hey, we've met off camera 10 minutes ago. We've never met in person. We were introduced by a dear friend, Sky Moffat, and I've known about you for quite a while because so many of my voiceover friends and colleagues have been sort of swept up in the Building Doors movement. For those that have no idea what in the hell we're talking about, explain to me and our audience what Building Doors is.
Sure. Building Doors is a movement, a community that is bound together by a mission of creating more equal opportunities for women in voiceover, specifically in male-centric genres.
This has been, I don't know when you founded it, but it kind of came on my radar, I want to say about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Is that accurate?
No, but I love that that's what you think.
Really?
That's amazing. It started March 1st of 2024. We've been around for 10 months.
Oh, wow. See, this is why in my family we call it Paulsheimer's, Christy. Because if I don't, time, ever since the pandemic, time is an accordion to me, right? This is the part that I really want to find out about. You do promo yourself. You do a lot of commercial yourself. What was, if there was the straw that broke the camel's back, what was that moment where you said, God damn it, something needs to be done here?
So I have been doing voiceover for about 20 years. 10 years was in addition to a full-time job. And during those years, I call them the BC years, before children. I did a lot of on-camera in addition to a sprinkling of voiceover work. And then the last 10 years have been only VO. I rarely do on-camera work, but I do all VO. And specifically the last 5 years, I've been focused on doing sports promo. I'm a former college athlete. I'm a former head varsity coach. My husband is also a former college athlete, and our kids are terribly involved in sports. So sports are just kind of like part of our lives, right? And I thought, what a great way to take what I love, which is voiceover, specifically promo, and combine it with sports. And not just any sports, but male-dominated sports like the NFL, UFC, PGA. And so for the past 5 years, I've followed all the rules to make that happen. I have done all of the things that you're supposed to do in terms of marketing, in terms of creating unique content, marketing content, in terms of having a sports promo demo, all the coaching, all the workshops, all that stuff. And nothing was happening. I'm like, well, I'm doing everything that everyone's telling me to do. Why isn't it happening? And full disclosure, I am not represented by any of the big agents where a lot of these opportunities are funneled through. And so I was doing a workshop with a prominent promo LA agent, a female. And I said to her, this is what I've been doing. What's going on? Do I have a chance? And she goes, yeah, not so much. And she went on to explain that it isn't because there aren't a bunch of women trying to create more opportunities for women in voiceover in these genres. It's because when these opportunities climb up the decision-making ladder, It gets to a point where it hits a middle-aged white man and he says, nope, put in a man. And my whole body really deflated and everyone in the Zoom room could see it. And I started getting messages in the chat and people were saying, Christy, don't give up. Christy, don't give up, blah, blah, blah. I woke up the next day and I thought to myself, so what you're telling me is what's the biggest thing holding me back is likely my gender. I didn't like that. And so I got angry, and I know that's a dangerous word to use as a woman, but I did get angry and I got frustrated and I got disappointed. And I found myself looking at two choices. One, give it up. Just give it up. What's the point? You've wasted 5 years of your life chasing this dream, investing money, investing time, investing training, trying to do all this out of the box marketing, and it's not working. So just give it up because it's not there for you. Or if there's no door for me to knock on, if there's no door for me to kick in fact, there's no door at all, I could build the door and I could partner with a bunch of women around the world to build it. And so that was something like February 9th or 10th of 2024. And I remember there was a moment sitting on my couch where I said to myself, if you're going to do it, you better do it now. And by now, I mean this second, because you have no time to waste. And I said, okay. And I got up off the couch. I came to this computer and I picked up my phone and I called women that I already knew. I called someone in Australia. I called somebody in Atlanta. I just started calling these women that I knew. And then when I ran out of women that I knew personally, I just started doing research on the internet and calling these women. And I will say that the 14 women who decided to partner with me in the month of March are probably some of the bravest women because they just signed on and said, yeah, I'm going to put my voice out there with you in this. And I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know. I was like, yeah, we'll do a month. Boop, boop, done. But then it caught on. And now 10 months later, here we are.
And I want to talk about this obvious bias. Where do you think that bias comes from? Is it cultural? Is it flat out misogyny? Is it a blind spot? How do you characterize it?
Just yesterday, I posted on our LinkedIn and on our Instagram pages, which are at Building Doors VO. Please follow. There was a study done of 2,000 women over a 10-year period. And what they discovered was that women are 4 times more likely to die if they don't express their negative experiences or feelings. And that we are currently in a society where women are discouraged from ever saying no. We are only encouraged to say yes. Why? Because men and women for centuries have roles. And we see each other within those roles. And so when you try to take women out of those roles, people don't like it because they have a hard time seeing you in that way. We don't like it when women say no. So when women express themselves authentically, statistically, data shows it's not good for them, their mental health and their physical health.
When they express themselves or when they don't?
When they express themselves in saying, no, I don't like this. No, I don't want to be a part of this. No, I'm not going to do this for you. Society doesn't like that. We like it when people stay within their roles. And these roles were put forth centuries and centuries ago. And it harkens back to the story that I just shared with you from that prominent promo LA agent. It's not for a lack of women trying to create opportunities for other women to be seen and heard in roles that they aren't traditionally. It happens when it gets to a certain point of decision making. And that decision making happens by a man. And that man is not ready to welcome a woman in a role that they are not typically seen. And I also had a conversation with an MLB reporter recently. And this MLB reporter is a woman. And she said to me, Christy, it's almost as if it's a copy and paste situation in head offices around the country in MLB offices. It's an Ivy League white man, copy paste. Ivy League white man, copy paste. And then we take that and we put that in all the senior positions of every Major League Baseball team. That's who's making decisions. how can anything change if there aren't more women in positions of decision making? Here's another story that I was shared. I mean, I have so many calls and so many stories with people when I try to, evangelize the brand. Another story I heard was a very, 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 and I'm not going to name them, very, 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 very popular NCAA Division I brand hired a consultant to come in and say, where can we better serve, right? Where are we missing? What are the holes? Where can we better serve to, amplify our brand and be even more of a powerhouse than we are? This was a middle-aged white man who came in, did, 3-4 months of analysis. Then he came to the conference room table, and in the conference room are all middle-aged white men and 2 women, 2 white women. And he starts to reveal his findings. And literally the words that came out of his mouth were, I think that you have too many women in positions of authority. And I think these women would be best served to not be in those positions and to actually be back home. I think you need to bring in more men. This was said in a conference room at a NCAA Division I brand's offices in 2024.
That to me is stunning.
It's not, because that's what's happening all around the country, in conference rooms all around the country. Whether it be sports, whether it be tech, whether it be finance, whether it be alcohol, whether it be whatever. We are now being faced with society challenging the ideas of roles for men and women. It just is what it is.
You're right. I shouldn't be stunned by it, but this is why I wanted to have you on, is to get educated and to educate our audience. That sort of, you talked about the copy and paste template in your example was Major League Baseball. Does that exist in other sports? And more importantly, does it exist in some way in the culture at large?
So here's what I like to focus on. I like to focus on the positive things that happen and the positive interactions that I have with people. So I started building doors in March of 2024. We were across 5 platforms. Moving into 2025, based on a data analysis I did, the most engagement happens on LinkedIn and Instagram. So that's where we're going to stay on our own pages. They were on my pages. So one of the things that happened, which I encourage, I want this to be something that everyone hears loud and clear, is that people are watching you. Whether they like a post, whether they comment, whether they share, people are watching you. And halfway through the campaign, someone from the Cavs reached out to me, a middle-aged white man, and said, I've been watching you. I like what you're doing, and I want to put you in a room full of decision makers so that you can be top of mind with building doors. I like to focus on, right, that there are people that are watching, people that you would never think would be supportive of you that are. And so that has happened several times where people have reached out to me and said, I've been watching you, and they're middle-aged, men, right? And I want to help you. So I don't want this to be a male bashing thing, because it's not. There are so many men who are supportive of building doors, and they fit the demographic of middle-aged man, right? And some of the biggest progress I've been able to make is with middle-aged men who believe in what I'm saying. They have daughters, they see the challenge and they want to make a difference. So I want to focus on, the positivity that I'm getting from not only women, but men as well.
There's an inherent hypocrisy here, especially as it pertains to advertising and promo. And that is, women, let's just take sports promo as an example, are roughly half the audience. Logic would dictate that women would be doing roughly half the promos, and it's not even close to that. So that's the disconnect. Talk about that hypocrisy, and where do you think literally the decision is made in someone's mind to say this is half of our audience and we're going to ignore them?
I think it really goes back to those roles. We're not used to having women voice for UFC or PGA tournaments or the NFL. We're not used to that. And again, the people who make decisions are not used to that. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share. I think what you were just saying allows me the opportunity to share this stat. Um, when I started the campaign, I know how I felt, right? After 5 years of trying and trying and trying and trying, I'm not repped by one of the big agencies. So a lot of those opportunities funnel through those agencies. I'm not on those rosters. I firmly believe that there are so many uber talented women who are passionate like me about either sports or tech or finance or these male dominated genres who just don't have access to the opportunities that deserve that chance, right? And so I went in search of research to see, well, is my experience unique, or are there other women who are
Is
experiencing?
there somebody out there killing it
Right,
we don't know about?
right. Because obviously the campaign is hitting a chord, right? It's obviously, hitting a nerve with people. So I was in search of data and I couldn't find any. I reached out to the folks at NAVA, and you know how they do that yearly
The
state
state
of
of VO survey. Yeah.
right. And unfortunately they didn't search, because I'm really searching this very niche slice of our industry, right? So I just decided to put up a survey of my own. Fine, I'll collect the data on my own. I had a link to a survey that was up for a month. I collected just under 200 responses. Of those 200 responses, about 54% were women, the rest were men. So it wasn't terribly lopsided in terms of gender. And what I garnered from that survey was that 73% of male voice actors claim that they have received 5+ auditions for male-dominated sports promo in the last 12 months, leaving only 27% of their female counterparts to claim the same. Was this a scientific, comprehensive, exhaustive study of our industry? No. But was it a wink? Was it a glimpse in time as to what is happening right now in our industry? Yes, I believe it is. And so when you take that information, I think it validates why Building Doors is hitting a nerve. But I want to take a step and look at it through a different lens, because there are men in our industry who are using their platform to say things like, yeah, I am seeing change. I am seeing more opportunities for women. Like, it's finally happening. We do have opportunity. Look at this person who's voicing this, and look at this person who's voicing that. And they're right. There are women. I'm not saying there are no women voicing anything male dominated. There are. But when you take that stat from the survey and you look at it through a different lens, let's say I am a man. I have season tickets to an MLB game. And for the last 20 years, I've had these season tickets and I sit at the same spot every time. And maybe it's behind home plate or they're good seats. They're good seats. And all of a sudden, the last 3 to 5 years, I look around and instead of seeing a bunch of men around me, I see a sprinkling of women. Like, oh, things are changing. Things are great. Things are changing. So I tell everyone, oh yeah, things are improving. I'm seeing a lot more women in my seats, right? Now, imagine you're a woman in the nosebleeds. Always been surrounded by women, right? And you always look down at those really great seats and you normally see men. Now, in the last 3 to 5 years, you start to see a sprinkling of women. A sprinkling, right? Imagine all blue seats, and now you're seeing a few pink seats, right? From the woman sitting in that position, do you think things are equal? Are they even close to equal? But to the man sitting there, he thinks change is happening with the sprinkling. We have a responsibility. The people who are sitting in the nice seats have a responsibility to not give false hope that things are better. Yes, there are some women. They are typically the same women who do this type of work. We love that. I love championing them. I love celebrating them. They're amazing women. But to those women up there, right, that when they look down to the 27%, it's not the same. It just isn't. And that's what Building Doors is trying to change. Building Doors is trying to meet face-to-face with brands and say, hey, can you just, next time you send out an audition, ask for the equal number of men to women? If you're going to ask for a voiceover audition, ask for 2 men, 2 women, whatever it is, right? Because here's what's going to happen. They're going to, and I know this because I've had conversations with brands face to face. about their process, right? So if you're sitting around the conference room table and your ad agency or whoever, your creative team, whatever, brings you the ad campaign and you hear 3 men and you hear 3 women on the various screens, one of 2 things is going to happen. One, yeah, I think for this campaign, it is right to stay with the male voice. Okay, great. No problem. But we have now allowed 3 women to be heard in a space that they otherwise would not have been heard. 3 months, 4 months down the line, someone in that room has a project come across their desk. Maybe it's an internal video. Maybe it's something for a social media reel. And they're going to say, you know who would be great on this is that one woman that we heard a couple months ago. We have planted a seed where one didn't exist before. That's what Building Doors is trying to do. If there is a woman who is featured as a door builder, who gets a job from her reel, that's amazing, right? That's great. I don't take any money from that. They have the opportunity to take that to their agent and work through or negotiate the rates on their own. That's great. What Building Doors is really trying to do is we're not trying to be a talent agent. We're not trying to be a brand manager. We're not trying to be a casting site. We are trying to work face to face with the brands, the people who make the decision, and say, just consider women. Just consider women. Listen to what we have to offer. Because we believe that that is going to create more opportunities in the future for women to be heard.
Absolutely. You mentioned earlier you had a conversation with a female sports reporter.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of football, and maybe nowhere else. I don't know. It seems like we love women as sideline reporters, but my God, they're like nobody comes up the steps to sit in the booth and do play-by-play or color analysis. The one exception to that rule, I think, is Doris Burke. Have you had conversations with people outside of voiceover, but still in sports media, specifically women, and the biases that still exist even outside of what you and I do?
I will say one of the number one objections I get when I sit down and I talk with people is, Christy, I hear women on the radio all the time. I see Erin Andrews report from the sidelines Sunday. Like, didn't somebody isn't there just like somebody who was the first female MLB play-by-play announcer for a team? Like, is this really a problem, Christy?
Yeah, in New York, there's one. Yeah.
Is this a problem, Christy? Is it really a problem? And it goes back to something you were saying. From where you sit, those seats I was talking about in the imaginary stadium, it's not a problem. Privilege is when you don't think it's a problem because it's not a problem for you personally.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And it's hard. It's hard for people who sit in their privilege to realize that there's a problem because it's not a problem to you. I'm a white woman. I'm drenched in privilege. I'm drenched in all kinds of privilege, right? But when I think of non-binary folks in our industry, when I think of LGBTQ+, when I think of Black women, Latino women, Asian women, Native American women, they don't sit in the privilege that I even sit in. And so, yes, there are plenty of women that I have talked to. One of them is we have a partner organization. They're called Empower Heard, HER. The organization was started by 2 women who worked. One worked for an MLB team and the other one worked for an NFL team. And they were pretty, high up there. And they had a unique position where they saw all of the ways that women are told no. All of the ways that they don't care. All of the ways that women are not even considered in the room. So they left those jobs and started this organization. And their sole goal with Empowered is to create more opportunities for women in sports at every position, from CEO to water girl to, everything, stadium operations, everything. Because the more women have those positions, the more equitable opportunity is created. Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with women about how challenging it is within professional sports organizations and finance. I spoke with a woman who represents on-air women who work in finance broadcasting. There's very few. And the challenges that they face. It's while sports is my passion, it also exists in finance, tech, in other industries. And a lot has to change. And it's going to start with people like you, people who sit in their privilege, acknowledge the fact that there is an issue, and speak up and do their part to help create positions or bring people into these positions where they otherwise weren't.
In those conversations, and you, in your defense, you, like I, were voice actors. We're rarely ever in front of the camera. I think you do have some on-camera background. Can you speak to, especially in sports, especially on camera, the sexualization of women and how those roles that they do get are expected to be carried out?
I love this question. Did you watch the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight?
I did not watch the fight, no.
Okay. Let's talk about that. So, as you know, if you don't know, the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight was highly publicized, right? And so Jake Paul, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and he actually is from my area. He grew up and was raised here. So he purposely put the fight right before his to be two women, two professional athletes, two professional boxers, right? So the warm-up fight before their direct fight was two women. And I think boxing, everyone knows, or it's traditional that there's a woman who holds a sign in between the rounds, and
ring card girls,
scantily clad.
Yep.
So my daughter and I, our whole family watched the fight. We stayed up to watch the fight. And there was two men who fought, two women, and then the main event. And after the whole thing was over, my daughter turned to me and she goes, the women were 10 times more fun to watch than any of the men. And I said, yeah, you're right. They were. And then when you look back to the data that they showed the next day, more people tuned in and watched the women fight than any other segment of the competition. Then those scantily clad women, they purposely positioned these women who are the whatever.
Ring card girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the women were being interviewed after the match to talk about, the fight, they put these women, these scantily clad women, literally like right on top of them so that their cleavage and everything else could be seen. Why? Because there's a view that if we're going to have two women, professional athletes who are really good at what they do, right? Fighting, we're not used to seeing that. So right after, we have to put how women are typically seen. We got to squeeze that in somehow, right? We got to put the chest out, right? And what I was waiting for was to see if anybody caught it. If you looked at the comments the next day on social media, and even from our fellow voice actors, male voice actors, they all said the same thing. They were like, what was up with that? Why were all these scantily clad women put right next to these women who had bloody faces and all other? Because as a society, we're not ready for that. We're not ready to see two women in a predominantly dominated male sport. We can't appreciate their athleticism. We can't appreciate what they did in that ring. And the women were 10 times more entertaining, and the data shows that. We had to stick in the norm. We had to stick in the norm of scantily clad women right next to them when they were being interviewed because we had to appease the male audience. It's just interesting how far we have yet to come. Because as a woman in 2024, I'm so happy of what my daughter has available to her now. I'm so happy that she has so much more than what I did when I was growing up. But to see those things in a boxing match happen just shows how much farther we have to go. It all goes back to the roles that we're not used to seeing women play.
Your example reminds me of the U.S. women's national soccer team, who very publicly has fought for equal pay to the men's team and has taken a lot of backlash from it. And yet, when you look at, World Cup, Olympic soccer, the women consistently outperform the men. Consistently, at least on the USA teams. I mentioned the word backlash. Has there been, I assume there has, what kind of backlash have you personally seen when you've tried to sit down and have these conversations or in other contexts?
I get messages from people. I also hear whispers. that I'm male bashing and I'm brand bashing. The All Building Doors is a way to say we hate men, men stink, we want to take jobs away from men. All you're doing is telling brands that they stink and they're not doing the right thing. And to that, I say, there are many brands that I can't say yet that I have publicly spoken to. I will say, as to a hint, I have spoken to an NFL brand that is a Super Bowl winning brand, recent Super Bowl winning brand. I have talked to some major classic American brands. And I can share that I've talked to the Cleveland Guardians, Valvoline, the Cavs, Sportsnet, which is the #1 sports media network in Canada. I spoke to their head creative guy, and none of these people would talk to me if I was male bashing or brand bashing. None of these organizations would offer to publicly support me and the Building Doors mission if I was male bashing or brand bashing. We have, I haven't calculated it recently, but the last time I did, it was almost over 30% of our Instagram followers are men. I mentioned that middle-aged men have reached out to me. I didn't reach out to them and offer me assistance. If Building Doors was nothing but male bashing or brand bashing, I don't think Building Doors would have lasted longer than the month that I had planned it to. I don't think that it would have gained the traction that it has or hit the nerve that it has, or received the partnerships and collaborations that it has. I think that to those people who think that Building Doors is brand bashing or male bashing, it says more about what you think of the progress of women in our society today, or even within our small genre of voiceover, than it does about the campaign.
I'm interested. You said you've gotten, in some ways, some unexpected support from people that look like me, white, middle-aged, male. I want to flip the coin and ask you if you've gotten any unexpected pushback from women.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Even those specifically within our industry.
Interesting.
In fact, the majority of the women that I have heard from or heard about that don't like the campaign are in voiceover. There are women who think that we have plenty of opportunities. They've said so. There's plenty of opportunities for women, Christy. It's your fault because you're not ripped by one of the big ones. And I've had people say, well, is your lack of access to these opportunities because of your gender, or is it just because you're not good enough? Maybe you're just not good enough. That's why you don't have access, because you're not a good enough voice actor.
What drives that? Is that a fear of if we as women speak up, then those opportunities may be taken away?
I don't know. I can't speak to that because I'm not one of those people.
You're not one of those people.
There have been people who have said to me, oh, quote, you've got balls, or, oh, you're so brave. I don't think that at all. I think I'm fed up. I am fed up by doing things the way that everyone says you have to do things. I did it. I did it that way. And so now I'm going to do it another way. And if that upsets you because I'm doing it this way as a woman, then that's on you. That's not on me. If it upsets you that I'm making noise, if it upsets you that I'm doing things outside of the normal way I do things, then don't watch. Don't watch. This is not a Christy Harst campaign. It's not. This is a women in voiceover campaign, and I'm trying to create more opportunities for women where they didn't exist. I'm trying to go directly to brands to do it. I'm not trying to take away anyone's jobs. I'm just trying to change that 27%. I'm trying to, maybe in 2025, at the end of the year, it'll be 30. Maybe it'll be 32. Maybe in 2026, we'll get into the 40s. And I'm not trying to change the minds of voice actors. Voice actors are not my target audience. Brands are. People who make the decision to hire voice actors is my target audience. That's who I'm trying to change the mindset of. And the more that I can support more women getting into those positions, the more I'm going to be able to create more opportunities in voiceover. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it makes sense. Let's sort of wrap up on a more positive note. Two things. One, what are you most excited about for Building Doors moving forward? And two, who has been Building Doors' biggest supporters so far?
Question. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I am so excited about 2025. And here's why. I am constantly adapting and tweaking and changing the campaign to make the most impact. And I want to hear people what they have to say, whether it's positive or negative, because that fuels me to change it and make it better. In 2025, we are not only going to be featuring door builders, which are women who are going to revoice scripts originally voiced by men in male-centric genres, but we also are going to feature community champions. These are people like Bev Standing, Tracy Lindley, Jody Krangle, people that have women that have really created amazing things in their own voiceover career that support Building Doors. And we're going to feature them. And we're also going to feature rising stars, women who are really down for the get down and have been super supportive of the campaign. And we want to expose them and their dreams and get them ideally connected with their dream clients. And then we're going to have global builders. I'm so excited about the global builders. Global builders are going to be women in voiceover that live in other countries. One of the things that I have heard about constantly, and women have asked, are you going to do this campaign in other languages? And here's the thing. Let's say I did a spot that was previously voiced by a man in Spanish. It's an iconic spot that someone would know if they lived in Mexico. It wouldn't serve that woman to take this iconic spot in Mexico, revoice it by a woman, and do it on our platform. It wouldn't serve them because no one in the States would recognize that iconic campaign as previously done by a man, and they probably wouldn't understand the language, right? So global builders, I'm asking them to do things that will build the brand throughout 2025 in their neck of the woods. Then in 2026, for lack of a better term, I'm going to franchise the brand so that they can do their own Building Doors in their own language in their country. Therefore, creating this global brand of equality, of equity for women in voiceover. And I'm so darn excited about it. I cannot wait because 2025 is the year of 10X. 2025 is the year of greater impact, greater advocacy, and greater awareness, and not just in the United States, but globally. And I can't wait for it. So now that answers what I'm excited about for 2025. I think the people who have been most supportive are definitely number one, the voiceover community, and men and women. I am so blown away by the support that I receive from voice actors, both men and women who reach out to me on a regular basis and share their stories. And I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful to the voiceover community because without them, this campaign wouldn't get the reach that it has and the reach that it's going to get. I would then say, I am so grateful to the women's empowerment movement. There are women that I reach out to in sports, in finance, in tech that are trying to blaze trails in their industry that have nothing to do with voiceover, that accept my calls and really give me great advice on how to navigate this space because it is challenging. When you're going up against the status quo, when you're trying to change roles that have currently existed for centuries, it's nice to hear from other women that are doing it in their lanes. And so I'm very grateful to those women just in women's empowerment, whether it doesn't matter what lane, right, what industry, that have taken the time to speak to me about their stories and how they have navigated it, because it really does make me feel like I'm not so alone in what I'm doing. And it makes those pushbacks and that negativity that I get not so harsh.
I think that's a great way to end. I was just at a conference recently, and one of the speakers talked about raising your vibration, raising your frequency and your energy. And when I asked you about what you are excited about, your frequency and energy went through the roof.
I know, right?
And that's the greatest thing to me. It's been a pleasure to learn about Building Doors. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. How can we help you moving forward, whether it's me personally or our audience?
I love that you asked that question. You can follow us on @BuildingDoorsVO on LinkedIn and on Instagram. You can like, tag, and share. By liking, tagging, and sharing, you are putting a woman's voice into your network with potentially millions more eyes that wouldn't see her. And that's amazing. And we have already seen the results of that. Like, tag, and share. Now, let's say, oh, Christy, I want to do more. I want to do more. No problem. You can reach out to me at Christy@ChristyHarst.com. For example, I'm going to be attending the WESPN conference in May in Brooklyn, New York. It's a very intimate face-to-face networking opportunity for me with, sports brands. And Such a Voice has agreed to pay for my $800 ticket.
Wow.
It's $800 for the ticket just to go to the conference, right? But I'm still looking for a sponsor to sponsor my flight because the flight is an expense that right now I can't take out of my own bank account. So I'm looking for a sponsor for that. So there are ways that if you really want to donate, I'm not really into the GoFundMe kind of thing. But if you are interested in partnering in that way, that is great. Also, we are going to be having Instagram and LinkedIn live events in 2025. Please watch us. Please like, share, comment. We might be looking for sponsors for that too. So there's lots of ways to support and show that you are down with our Get Down.
And I will assemble all that information and put it in the description on YouTube and in the show notes on the podcast. So everybody has it. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Everybody has it in one neat little spot that they can access. Thank you for being here and for educating all of us.
Thank you.